Seiko has made some pretty dang awesome divers over the decades, and I've been a fan of many of the designs, not all of the designs, but I've liked the SKX and the Monster and the Turtle and the Sumo and the Tuna and the MM200 and the MM300 and the Transocean. I think that one was one of Seiko's best, and it's unheralded. Nobody talks about the Seiko Transocean, unfortunately. But just to summarize here, they have made some excellent diver designs over the decades, and there has been something to the overall look and feel of these divers that really draws me in, and I think it comes down to a couple individual elements of the design. Generally, these watches have very bulbous cushion cases that are fluid and curvaceous and carry good clean lines of delineation between brushwork and polish work. I like the pierced lug holes on most of the divers, and I like the fact that the crown is generally found at the 4 or the 430 position. It just makes for a very comfortable yet toolish case that is instantaneously recognizable, and you can't mix it up with, say, a Seamaster or a Rolex Submariner. It doesn't look like a Swiss watch. It doesn't look like a German watch. It is distinctively Japanese. It is distinctively Seiko, and I think that's cool. Now, going on some other elements that I think strengthen the overall design language of a Seiko diver is the fact that the hand design is instantly, legible and easy to use, but it also ties in nicely with the overall theme of the watch, be it curvaceous or linear. And I don't know, I just think there is some strength to that nuance and that layered nature of putting form into a piece of mechanical art that tells you the time as you wear it on your wrist. And then lastly, the distinctive characteristic of a Seiko diver is not that it has excellent bezel action, it's not that it has an excellent bracelet, it's not anything like that. It's the fact that it has unbeatable lume in terms of, just your basic application of a formula. I'm not talking about tritium, I'm not talking about tubes or anything like that. Just standard lume. It's always so satisfying, and some models are a little bit better than other models, but that's what I think of when I think of a Seiko diver. Excellent case design, fully indexed bezel, crown at the 4 o'clock position, a great theme or design language with a good handset, really good lume, and fairly forgettable bracelet flexibility or tactile feel of the bezel, and sometimes a misaligned chapter ring. Now, why do I go through all of that? Well, I have one in front of the camera that I think fits in nicely with everything that I've talked about. This is the SPB 315. It is based off of the original 6105 that debuted back in 1968. And for those of you that are into pop culture or perhaps are film buffs or sci-fi fans, that was the year that Stanley Kubrick released 2001, A Space Odyssey, which is considered probably the most influential sci-fi film ever to be released. So this design comes from the same era that film debuted in. Now, it ran for almost a decade, and it went through a couple different iterations. There was the more slender and streamlined symmetrical case, which this one is based off of. That is the 8000 case. And then later on, it became more cushion, more bulbous, more asymmetrical, and that was known as the 8110 or the True Willard, which was phased out in 1977, which was the year that George Lucas released Star Wars. So this particular model went through a lifespan from 2001: A Space Odyssey all the way through Star Wars, and was really made famous by the film Apocalypse Now, which came out 2 years after that discontinuation in 1979. And here we are all these years and decades later in 2022 talking about this release and talking about this most modern interpretation of it, the SPB 315. Now let's talk about a few of the elements specific to this 315. There is a new 5-link bracelet design that looks sharp and fits in with this symmetrical style cushion case. The dial will have applied markers and bi-finished beveled hands that are very legible and I think look really sharp with this new 5-link bracelet design and the more linear, streamlined case shape that again harkens back to the 8000 case of the 6105. We also have a small circular date window with a blackout disc in between the 4 and the 5 o'clock position, I know some of you will be moaning and groaning about that, but I think you're being just a little bit dramatic. I don't mind the fact that it's here. It is not breaking up the symmetry of the dial, and it's not eye-catching because it is blacked out and it's visible when you need to locate the date, but it's not overly eye-catching. Now continuing, we also have the classic red Seiko dot, and you're running seconds hand, and everything is visible here on the dial with inner applied anti-reflective treatment that carries a little bit of an iridescent green hue when viewed from specific angles, and I think that looks really good. Now the watch will have drilled lugs, a milled clasp, classic Seiko bezel action, classic lume bright, and pretty decent bracelet flexibility. Now I'd like to give Seiko some props for going back into their history, like they've done many times, and bringing a great classic Seiko design into the modern era, taking that color scheme from the 6159 high beat from 1968 and dressing it up here on this 315 pre-Willard. I think it's nice to see this next to one of the classic Willards with a different SPB reference, or next to the SLA Willard with the 8L movement. I think that one is my personal favorite out of the 6105 design architecture, and one of those, at least a version of that case and movement, will be in my own horological purchasing future. But again, I'd like to commend Seiko for coming out with a great watch that I think will appeal to a good amount of watch enthusiasts. So thank you for watching today. Please reach out with any questions you may have, and a link to Brent Miller Jewelers will be in the description of the video if you're shopping for any Seiko or Grand Seiko. So have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.